A couple months ago, something happened that got me thinking. I was playing doubles with Unyshek and he was using the Fotis helmet, and I thought to myself, well, Unyshek's really dang good at this game, but what if it's because of his helmet? Now, in no way was I thinking that his helmet was the only reason Unyshek was doing so good, but I thought, well, he's using the Fotis helmet, and that thing has a huge horn on the top. Maybe that alters with how a person sees the hitbox, even from far away, and maybe that could translate to a small but measurable amount of advantage. So I went into a custom game and tested it out, and of course, I found that it really doesn't help at all. Up close, yes, the horn actually isn't part of the hitbox, so up close shooting at the horn will actually not do anything. But once you go farther away, bullet magnetism starts to take into effect, and his hitbox gets so large around his head that even the horn, all of it, is inside of his hitbox, so it didn't matter at all. But that, of course, isn't the end of this video. I kept thinking, and I thought, well, maybe there are helmets out there in Halo 5 Guardians right now that can change the way that someone sees your head at faraway distances despite the hitbox. Because the hitbox is going to be the same for male, female Spartans, whether you're wearing common helmets or the Achilles helmet. So my next theory that I tested was, let's try to see if narrower helmets, meaning helmets that are just not as wide, are a little bit harder to hit. Yes, of course, the hitbox is going to stay exactly the same for all of these helmets, but my theory was, what if you're shooting at a smaller target? Because someone doesn't necessarily shoot at someone's hitbox, meaning the imaginary space around a player's head that actually counts for a headshot. Most of us look at a person's head on the Spartan and say, okay, that's where I want to shoot, that's where I'm going to aim. So what if they're shooting at a smaller target? Could this prove to be some sort of advantage? Because while every Spartan has the same hitbox, not every Spartan has the same helmet geometry. Some of them are a little bit smaller than others, and if you're looking at a smaller head target, are you more likely to miss that target? So first, let's take a trip back to Halo 3. In Halo 3, there were playable elites. You could play as any number of elite characters in any match-made game, or you could play as a Spartan. A lot of people disliked players that played as elites because they felt that the elites were harder to hit headshots on because the head felt smaller or the back felt like it arched up a little bit more, so it was harder to hit them from the back of the head. Anyway, this was a total myth. Halo 3 Spartans and Halo 3 Elites had the exact same hitbox. So where did this theory come from? First, I do want to state that this theory did have some weight. A lot of people were aware of a glitch where you could shoot an elite through the neck completely and your bullet would totally miss. People found this out in SWAT and even other game modes, and people would run MLG as elites for this reason to get a slight advantage. But that wasn't it. The main complaint for playable elites were that the elites had a bigger torso and smaller heads, so it was harder to distinguish when you were shooting the player in the head. So I thought, well, what if we can take that same theory and apply it to Halo 5? What if we take a helmet that is very small, we take a body armor that is very large? What if we can meld the two together and we could make a situation where the head is kind of hard to distinguish? My choice was the Deadeye helmet and the Indomitable body, and what this did is it gave me a very small and narrow helmet with also a huge body, broad shoulders, and a big part on the back that allowed me to maybe sometimes give the impression that someone was shooting at my back when their aimer was actually on my head hitbox. The idea of this is, while my hitbox hasn't changed at all, the geometry of my armor has, maybe fooling a player, thinking maybe they're hitting a body shot when they're actually hitting a headshot. Because while the enemy player isn't necessarily shooting at a smaller target, there is a perceived notion that they are, because my head is a little bit smaller and my body is huge. So in their mind, psychologically, they are shooting at a smaller target, and when they make fine-tune adjustments, or if I thruster, they may over-adjust, under-adjust, and end up missing my head. This was the theory anyway. The problem with this theory is that it would be very hard for me to get objective data. It would be extremely time consuming to look at KD trends from over 50 to maybe even 100 different people out there to see if these armor changes were making any difference. When I did my video on is black armor better in free-for-all, I was only looking at one variable, armor color. But with changing the armor to whatever you want to make your body a little bit bigger and your head a little bit smaller, there are a lot of things that I would want to look at. Accuracy, gunfights, reversals, KD, win percentage, and I don't really have the statistical knowledge to put all of that together in a way that makes sense, and I don't know if really anyone could. So I hate to say it, but we're going to have to reduce this to subjective data, and I'm only going to be using my own personal testimony. Of course, you can try this by yourself, but I've been using Deadeye and Indomitable chess piece now for about 2 weeks, so I can speak to it and how it makes me feel on the battlefield. Keep in mind these last 2 weeks I've been primarily playing a lot of free-for-all, also playing some Warzone in the mix. So I have a mix of arena gameplay and also Warzone gameplay. In the arena, it was hard to tell. I play free-for-all at the high Onyx and maybe even some champ level, and at that level, most of the games are down to the wire to begin with. I didn't feel that I won necessarily too many more games. I didn't feel like my KD was necessarily more higher. I win a decent number of challenges when I'm normally playing, so I didn't notice a huge difference in arena, but that's probably because the players at this level are incredibly high caliber. We don't really look at the helmet, we just look at the hitbox. I didn't really see a big difference here. Warzone, however, is where I felt a huge difference. I really felt overpowered while playing Warzone. I think it's because in Warzone, you're playing a social playlist, so you're not going to play people that are always going to be at your caliber of play. And me, being a higher level player, being pretty good on the sticks, I was playing people that weren't as good. And when you put a small advantage in my hand, a small perceived advantage even, like having a big body and a small head, I think it was a lot easier for me to get a lot of kills. I felt that I was a lot better on the sticks. I felt that I didn't lose as many gunfights, especially when I was playing people of a lower caliber than me. I felt sort of overpowered, like I couldn't lose certain gunfights. Of course, I did lose gunfights. I wasn't perfect, but it felt a lot easier for me to live. I got a lot higher streaks. I got a lot higher kills. Short and simple answer, I do think this could help you if you are a lower level player or if you enjoy playing social playlists, Warzone, whatever it may be. But if you're a higher level player trying to get an edge, I don't necessarily think this is going to help too often. Higher level players are just really good at the game. This isn't going to trip them up, and I don't think I would be tripped up by it. Yes, it might be a little bit harder to aim, but throughout the game, I'm constantly looking at everyone's armor. I'm constantly adapting to people's strafes, and armor would just be something that I would adapt to. So maybe in the beginning of the game, you might be a little bit more difficult to hit if you had a big body and a little head. But for me, while the game progresses, I would get used to that armor, and I would adjust my shot because of that. But I don't think lower level players can do that as well, and because of that, that is why I saw an increase in my skill in games like Warzone. So maybe if you're a low level player, you might try doing this to get a small advantage. No theory is perfect, and my data could be flawed because of my skill or whatever, so I urge you to go try this yourself. Talk about it in the comments section. Let's see if we can try to find the perfect armor combination to work best against even maybe high level players. I don't know. I only tried one armor combination, and that was Indomitable and Deadeye. You could try different ones. Goblin is another small helmet, and there are plenty of other small helmets out there. Whichever one you choose, hopefully it works for you. I definitely saw an increase in skill when I was playing lower level players, and if you're a player that is lower ranked, hopefully this helps you more than it helped me in Arena. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of style of video, go check out Is Black Armor Better in Free-for-All? That is a video that I did kind of like this one where I looked, is Black Armor better than Free-for-all? I mentioned it earlier in this video, and it's a pretty interesting one, and that was kind of the inspiration behind this one. I want to try to find small advantages in the game that you can exploit to make yourself a better player. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. It really helps me out. Also, share it with your friends if they like Halo. If they like me, they might like Halo even more. You might get a sweet doubles partner if they enjoy my tips. Maybe you'll both rock Indomitable and the Deadeye and be completely unstoppable in Arena. Stay notable, you guys. I'll see you in the next video.